The higher education levels in liberals and progressives really indicate that they're smarter than conservatives. I don't think so, and neither does this person.
If you're conservative, you're just brainwashed. If you don't believe me, just look at education. Conservatives typically have the least amount of education of any political group. Meanwhile, progressives and liberals typically have the highest education you see across the board. And that proves that conservatives are only conservative because they're too stupid to not realize they're just falling for propaganda. Meanwhile, the liberals are educating themselves and actually getting smarter, being able to see the world for the way it actually is from their education. That's not true. If you don't know that education is the greatest form of propaganda there is. Let me read you this quote by a guy named H.L. Mencken. The plain fact is that education itself is a form of propaganda, a deliberate scheme to outfit the pupil, not with the capacity to weigh ideas, but with the simple appetite for gulping ready-made ideas. And that's really true of what we see in the world today. It's crazy to realize the fact that college-educated people always progress in their ideology. That doesn't mean that's because they're smarter. That means because they're a part of a system that is propagandizing them through their education. And now, is everyone who has a college degree a liberal or propagandized? Not necessarily. But when that argument is made against conservatives, it actually goes further to prove against their point than it does for them. Because those who are educated by the people who built the modern left, like critical theorists and Marxists who came into this country and infiltrated our education systems with critical pedagogy and education, don't realize that the reason they are learning to see the world this way is because they're purposely being taught that. If you think that education indicates who the smarter group of the political spectrum is, you are the victim of propaganda. And I don't say that to say that if you are brainwashed or propagandized into believing that, or you are progressive, that you're stupid. What I mean is it's really interesting that you can't look at something where if every single person who comes from all different spheres of the political spectrum then enters into a system and then on the other side of it, they all come out almost identical, they've clearly gone through something that was designed to form them into a specific type of person who thinks a specific type of way. This is not the purpose of education. Good, true, honest education should produce a multiplicity of ideas and beliefs about how the world should operate. And then in the free market, those ideas should come together and the best ones will come out on top. But that's obviously not what's happening when every single person who enters into our college education system ends up moving further to the left. And almost always the most radical people are college educated at the most radical institutions. So, gives you something to think about, I guess.
All right, so let's talk about this. I think like at the end of the video, he says that the most radical leftist people are the ones that have been radically indoctrinated at these college institutions. All right. So first of all, what you have to understand about a lot of these institutions, and by the way, before I go into this, let me tell you that I've been my bachelor's degree is from Syracuse University, and my graduate degree is a master's in journalism from Columbia University. So I'm a very highly educated person that also tends to be right-leaning conservative. So I say all this to say that a lot of the people that are in academia, that are in that system, not only are they liberals, progressives, they are far left, they are never forced to get outside of that bubble to really defend or challenge any of their beliefs. The students won't challenge it because the professors have power over their grades, right? So you don't see a whole lot of that. And you also don't see a lot of right-leaning people on college campuses or on these universities in general. I'm one of the most successful graduates from my master's degree program at Columbia University. I can't get arrested there. They will never bring me back to speak because I am a right-leaning person and I have built that platform, right? That is just too threatening to what they have built there. Now, what I will say, as somebody that's highly educated that went to Columbia University for my master's degree, I was shocked that in a journalism master's degree program, there was such a lack of curiosity and lack of independent thought from students that were supposed to be studying journalism. And this was before I was a public-facing right-leaning person. I was always relatively independent. Like I've always had a very independent streak in me. So I would find myself asking these questions as we were learning, and you would get these weird looks by people like, oh, well, you're not supposed to be asking that question. And I'm like, what is journalism if not the practice of asking questions? But it seems like nobody in that industry really wants to do that anymore. And they also do not want to interrogate their own biases.